Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Snyder and I serve as Franklin University Switzerland's Director of U.S. Enrollment Operations. I'm very happy to be coming to you today to chat about the student visa process for fall. Please note that the following presentation is specifically designed for U.S. citizens and permanent residents of the United States or anyone in the U.S. with a valid visa. Our U.S. staff is happy to provide instructions and support as you go through the student visa process. But final approval and processes in general are governed by the Swiss authorities and the Swiss representation here in the United States. Our recommendations are suggestions and we're happy to help along the way. There tends to be a decent amount of stress from some families about the student visa process, but I can assure you that as long as you follow the step-by-step instructions in this video and in the guides that are included in the student portal, you'll be on your way to receiving your student visa. Franklin has never had an American citizen or permanent resident be denied a student visa to come to Franklin, and I very much doubt that you will be the first. Thank you for your attention. Let's go ahead and get started.
First and foremost, all instructions and any related materials that you need for your visa application can be found within your student portal. You should navigate to your student portal if you have not already and find the tab labeled Immigration. In that tab, you will find a section that begins with "Please read the instructions for applying for a Swiss student visa." Any information that you'll need will be located within your portal. Please do not reference any other sites on the internet to complete the application. Let's touch on what a student visa is and why you need one. U.S. citizens and, depending on your passport, permanent residents may enter Switzerland without a visa for tourism purposes, and you would be allowed to stay for 3 months or 90 days. However, if you're entering Switzerland for study or if you're entering Switzerland for longer than 90 days, which a standard semester is longer than 90 days, you must receive permission from the Swiss government to enter the country and to live there. Without this permission, you would be considered an illegal immigrant. A Swiss student visa is permission from the Swiss government for you to move to Switzerland to study for the amount of time related to your enrollment status at Franklin, whether that be for a semester or up to 4 years. The visa itself will be a sticker/stamp that will be placed in your passport by the Swiss immigration authorities. Without this sticker, you won't be able to enter Switzerland. And when you enter the country or nearby Italy, the authorities will look for this sticker to verify that you have permission to enter the country. The photo on your screen is from your student portal, and we ask that you read all the information very carefully. The arrow you see is pointing to a document that outlines all of the requirements which must be gathered and submitted to the Swiss representation for your visa. We strongly recommend that you download this document, print it out, and again follow the instructions step by step to gather all the materials that must be submitted with the application. We are going to be going over each step today.
We suggest that you start this process immediately. Your Swiss student visa application must be submitted no later than June 1st. Any later than June 1st will jeopardize your ability to receive your visa in time to study at Franklin. This process does take 8 to 10 weeks from initial submission to receiving the sticker in your passport. Your passports must be valid through August 31st, 2025, with at least 2 blank pages. If your passport's expiring before then, you must have it renewed as soon as possible. To be on the safe side, you should expedite the renewal of your passport. You may even need to receive a same-day passport. It's extremely important to work with your admissions counselor at Franklin in order to help navigate this process. A Swiss consulate or embassy will process the Swiss student visa application. There are only 4 representations here in the United States: New York, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco. The consulate or embassy with which you will work is determined by your home address, and that information is included later in this presentation. There's a list of documents that you need to gather and submit in order to receive a student visa. If you go back to the document that I referenced under the blue arrow, it will include all 11 or 12 documents that you need to gather and mail to the appropriate Swiss representation. Let's go through each of these documents together.
The first document that you need are 3 copies of the National Type D as in dog, visa application form, fully completed and signed by the student. We've included a link to the form underneath the visa video within your student portal. Some areas in the form are pre-populated for you. Please download the visa application form template in your portal. Please note that the signature on each of the 3 copies must be a wet signature. You may not sign with an electronic signature, and the signature should not be copied. We recommend that you fill in one application, make photocopies, and then sign each application separately. Be aware that if you are under the age of 18 at the time of completing the application, your parents or guardians will also need to sign and date each copy of the application. Once you've completed those, put them to the side and move on to step number 2. Step number 2 is for recent passport photos, and these must be recent. Be aware that the Swiss passport photo sizes and requirements are different than the standard US photo size. The specific Swiss photo requirements are located on the document sheet within your portal. It will be important to take those specifications with you to the passport photo agency, like Walgreens, CVS, or your postal service. The difference is that the Swiss student visa photo requirements are more narrow than US photo sizes. Worst case scenario, if you cannot have the individual print you the right size, you may cut the photos down to the appropriate Swiss size in millimeters. You will need to receive 4 passport photos, and you can just throw those photos into the envelope with the application. They do not need to be attached to any of the documents. Item number 3. You will need 2 color photocopies of the photo and signature page of your passport. When you open your passport, the first page should be the documentation with your photo, and above is the page with your signature. Make sure that your passport is signed before you make copies. And again, you'll need 2 color photocopies of each of those pages. You'll also want to upload a copy of that to your application portal. Item number 4. This only relates to those in the U.S. who are permanent residents, aka green card holders, or anyone with a visa to live in the United States. If you are a U.S. citizen, please do not submit anything. There is no proof of residency required for U.S. citizens. Please do not misunderstand this requirement, as it is only for those with a green card or a visa. Step number 5 is an official enrollment certificate on Franklin University Switzerland letterhead. These 2 requirements are very, very simple. Item number 6 is the confirmation of payment of university fees and Swiss medical insurance coverage. These 2 letters are located within your student portal in English and Italian. All you have to do is print the 2 copies and include those with your student visa application. Please note that it does not matter that you have not paid your bill yet. The letter that you submit will suffice for this requirement. Both letters are provided to you within your student portal under the Immigration tab. If you navigate to the Immigration tab and click on the enrollment certificate in red, as you see on this slide, you'll be able to download these 2 letters. If these 2 letters have not been included in your portal yet, please do not worry, they will be uploaded soon. So keep checking your portal every day to see if they become available. Once you're able to download the forms, add these to your visa application to be submitted. Item number 7 is extremely important: financial support. All students must report parental or guardian support, regardless of who is actually paying for Franklin. It does not matter if your aunt, your grandfather, if you have a 529 plan, or financial aid. For the purpose of your Swiss student visa application, you must report parental support. Without parental support, a student will not be granted their visa. To complete item number 7, you will need the following: 2 copies of a letter of support from the student's parent or guardian. Simply include 2 copies of a letter that states something like the blurb that we've included on the screen. It's supposed to be a very simple letter saying that I, parent or guardian, agree to provide financial support to my son or daughter during their time at Franklin. Please see attached documents. Signed, parent or guardian. In addition to the 2 copies of this letter, you must provide 2 other items: 2 copies of the parent or guardian's passport or driver's license. The driver's license is fine if the parent or guardians do not have a passport, but if they do have a passport, please include 2 copies of each of the parent or guardian's passport. The parents must also provide 2 copies of financial statements. Include 2 copies of either your W-2 from the previous year or a bank or asset statement. Any personal information like social security numbers or account numbers can and should be blacked out.
Item number 8. Please include 2 copies of school documentation. This requirement can be confusing in that if you've already graduated from high school at the time of your visa application, all you need to do is submit 2 copies of your high school diploma. This goes for all incoming students. If you're a study abroad student or a transfer student, you must also find a copy of your high school diploma to submit. If you are in high school and have not yet graduated, you need to submit the following in lieu of the high school diploma. You must submit a letter from your high school registrar's office or counselor on school letterhead indicating the exact date that you'll graduate. The letter should say, I, school registrar or counselor, verify that X student will graduate on X date. You must also then submit a transcript showing all coursework through spring 2024 with the letter from the school official. So again, if you've graduated from high school, you will submit 2 copies of your high school diploma. If you have not graduated from high school, you will need to submit 2 copies of a statement from a high school registrar or counselor, along with a transcript showing coursework through spring 2024. Item number 9. You will also find that in the same section, under the video, a resume template. Item number 9 is 2 copies of a resume in English and Italian. You must copy the example template provided and use that format only. Under no circumstance should you provide your own resume that you've created, nor should you change the format of the template that we have provided. Do not embellish. Simply list the names of your schools, work, activities, and check the boxes at the bottom. Do not add new checkboxes and do not translate the names of clubs and schools. You will then print it out and include it with the visa application. Do not overthink this. There are many other things that you may be involved in that are not listed on the template, and that's okay. It's not a big deal and it won't hurt your chances of receiving your visa. Item number 10. Provide 2 copies of a brief motivation essay in both English and Italian. 1 paragraph is fine to explain your future plans. We have provided some templates for you. You're also welcome to use Google Translate to translate your brief statement into Italian. You will also need to date and sign both documents in blue ink. Please do not provide more than 1 paragraph. And remember, you will need to submit 2 copies in English and 2 copies in Italian. Therefore, have 2 separate copies in English and 2 separate copies in Italian.
On to number 11. If the student is a minor, aka under the age of 18, at the time of the application, the parent must include the underage student form found in your student portal along with apostille. For questions regarding the apostille, please contact your admissions counselor. Item number 12. You will include 2 copies of a written statement in English and 2 copies in Italian from the student saying that he or she agrees to leave Switzerland after they complete their chosen course of study. We've provided you with the letter template in both Italian and English that you will use. This letter is located underneath the Swiss student visa video within your portal, along with a template letter regarding leaving Switzerland after completion of study. Number 13. Include 2 copies of written confirmation acknowledging that the applicant is not allowed to engage in employment without authorization from the appropriate Swiss authorities. Both copies must have a wet signature and a date. A template in both English and Italian is provided by Franklin in your student portal. So let's go through the required documents one more time. I will note that this checklist is available in your student portal. It's the very first thing that we talked about in this presentation, so make sure that you download that, you print it out, and you keep it nearby when you're working on your application. So the first requirement, 3 National Type D visa application forms, fully completed and signed by the applicant. And if you are under the age of 18 at the time, the parents will also need to sign and date the applications. 4 recent passport photos, 2 color copies of a valid passport. If you are a permanent non-citizen, U.S. citizen, or a resident, 2 copies of notarized proof of residency in the U.S. Next, 2 copies of confirmation registration letter from the school in Switzerland and in English. This is provided by Franklin. 2 copies of confirmation of payment of school tuition fees in English and Italian. This is also provided by Franklin. 2 copies of parental guardian financial support. It's a letter. Then they will also need to include 2 copies of the parent or guardian's government-issued identification, so either a passport or driver's license, and 2 copies of a financial statement containing details of income or assets. Next, 2 copies of previous diplomas and school certificates if the student has already graduated high school, or, if you've not already graduated, 2 copies of a school transcript and letter from the school registrar or official. 2 copies of a resume, 2 copies of a brief essay on the applicant's future plans. For students who are under 18 at the time of the visa application, a completed and signed underage student form, along with the required apostille. 2 copies of a written confirmation that the applicant will leave Switzerland after they complete their chosen course of study. 2 copies of written confirmation acknowledging that the applicant is not allowed to engage in employment without authorization. Next, you want to make sure that you make copies of all the documents required for your visa application for your records. Make sure to confirm all the documents with your admissions counselor and confirm which embassy or consulate you're going to be sending your application to before mailing. Next, you're going to mail the visa application through a courier with tracking, preferably UPS or FedEx. We recommend overnight or 2-day shipping, so that way you can keep track of it, and 2, you know it gets there faster. Once you have all of these documents and sort them appropriately, make sure you have a full set of copies for your records. Put the originals into an envelope and mail them to the appropriate Swiss consulate or embassy. We'll get to that in a moment. Now let's dive into the actual visa application. Please go into your student portal, and under the visa video, you will find a link to download the German-English version of the Swiss Type D visa application. Let's go through each line to ensure that you're completing the form correctly. First, you will see that there's a photo box in the top right. You do not need to attach your passport photo to this box, just make sure your photos are included in the package to be mailed. So this is an example of what the visa application looks like. So in question number 1, you're going to put the student's last name. Number 2, student's last name if different at birth. 3, student's first and any given middle names. 4, the student's birthday. Anytime that you input a date for your application, it should be in the model, European model, which is day, month, and then year. Number 5, place of birth. Also include country. 6 is the country of birth. 7, current nationality or nationalities, and also if your nationality was different at birth, that must also be included. Number 8, masculine or feminine. Number 9, you will choose single. Number 10, the father's name, place, and country of birth. This should match what's on your birth certificate. 11, mother's name, place, and country of birth. This should also match what's on your birth certificate. Number 12, for minors, you'll repeat the parental information. If you are not a minor, you can leave it blank. Number 13, all students should have an ordinary passport. 15, passport's date of issue. You'll need to provide that in the European date model, which is day, month, and year. 16 is the passport's date of expiration. 17, the applicant's home address and phone number. Please also include your email. If the Swiss have any questions about your application, they will contact you via email. They won't call you. 18, if you have residency status in a country other than your country of nationality, you must also submit information about your green card or visa. This pertains to those who are in the U.S. on a green card or visa. If you are a U.S. citizen living in the U.S., simply choose no. 19, current occupation. Answer is student, and this should already be filled in for you. And 20 is Franklin University's address.
Question 21, you will choose education. Question 22, Depending on how long you'll be staying at Franklin, you must indicate the exact number of months that you will be with us. Now, this should already be filled in for you, but in the chance that it is not, if you were with us for 1 semester, you would put down 4 months. If you were with us for 1 academic year, you will choose 9 months. If you're planning on being with us for 2 years, 24 months, 3 years, 36 months, and 4 full years is 48 months. Number 23. The intended date of arrival, everyone will put 20 August 2024. That's the first day of orientation. And number 24 is Franklin's address. Should be included for you, but if not, it is here and it's also on our website.
25, you'll choose multiple entries. 26, if you've visited Switzerland before, please let them know. 27, you'll leave that blank. 28 is Franklin's address. 29, you'll say attending a Swiss American accredited institution. And 30 should always be by the applicant himself or herself, regardless of whoever is paying for Franklin. We know this sounds a little contradictory to the parental support, but it doesn't, so please don't worry about that and just choose by the applicant himself or herself. After you've completed the form online, print 3 copies. If you're not able to print it online, we encourage you to print 1 copy out, write in as clearly as you possibly can, then make copies. Then sign the form. The signature cannot be copied. After you've completed the first application, make 2 additional copies. Don't forget to sign each form. All must be original signatures. And once you've gathered all of your documents, you'll need to schedule a meeting with your admissions counselor to confirm that you have all the correct documents. Once you've completed your meeting with your counselor, you may then submit your Swiss student visa application to the appropriate Swiss representation. In the United States, there are 4 that process visa applications. Just because you have a Swiss consulate or embassy near you doesn't mean that they process the visa applications. The ones in the U.S. that process visa applications are New York, Atlanta, San Francisco, and D.C. Where you submit your Swiss student visa application is determined by where you live, not necessarily what's closest to you. Use the link in your Franklin Student Portal to determine where you send your Swiss student visa application. Please do not Google for a Swiss consulate. We have also been requested to tell you to please mail in your Swiss student visa application. Even if you live in San Francisco, the Swiss do not want you to visit the office to submit the application. They would like you to mail it. You may gather all 12 or 13 of these documents, put them into a FedEx or UPS envelope, and you may mail them to the Swiss consulate or embassy. We recommend that you use FedEx or UPS to ensure delivery and to provide more security. The visa page in your portal will indicate where you need to submit the application. So next steps. Again, please confirm with your admissions counselor that all documents from your checklist and application are included together. And once you've sent all of the documents to the Swiss consulate or embassy, there are multiple offices the application will go through before it's approved. The U.S. consulate you submit your application to will register the information and then notify the immigration office in Bellinzona, Switzerland. Then in Bellinzona, the Bellinzona office will review and register your application to be forwarded to the immigration office in Lugano. Once in Lugano, the final review takes place, and it is there that the approval happens. Once you mail in your application, you'll have to sit back and wait. Franklin staff will monitor the approval process with the local authorities in Switzerland. And once your visa is approved, we will receive the authorization form, and then we will notify you by email on how to receive your visa. The consulate will not provide updates if you email or call. And always, no news is good news. Simply, you have to wait and see. If it seems the process is taking a little bit longer for your visa to be approved, that's not a problem. So the visa approval. Franklin will notify you via email that your student visa was approved. The email will contain an attachment with your Swiss visa authorization. The authorization provided to you is not the actual visa that will be placed in your passport. You must immediately send your passport and a copy of this visa authorization form to the same embassy or consulate that you originally applied. Make sure you also include a prepaid self-addressed return envelope from the same courier service. What will happen is the Swiss consulate or embassy will receive the authorization and your passport. They will then put the stamp into your passport and mail back your passport to you in the prepaid self-addressed return envelope. If you do not include that self-addressed return envelope, they will simply hold your passport for eternity and they will not return it to you until you send them the prepaid self-addressed return envelope. So again, once your visa has been approved, Franklin will let you know. You will include the authorization form with your passport and send it off to the appropriate Swiss consulate or embassy, and then they'll return that to you. Your visa will have an expiration date, and this is normal. Once you arrive on campus, you will work with our Student Life office to generate and receive your Swiss residence permit. Once you have your permit, you'll use that to enter and exit Switzerland as you need throughout your time with us. So don't worry about the expiration date. For example, if you're studying abroad, if you're a gap year or freshman abroad, your permit will be valid for 1 year. And if you're a traditional undergraduate, freshman, or transfer, your permit will be automatically renewed each year.
If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact your admissions representative or myself, the Director of U.S. Enrollment Operations. Our contact information is on our website and on the slide you see here. Again, all documents and information can be found within your student portal.